Welcome back, folks. You're watching Sport Federation TV. Nice to have you along. Well, as I told you before the break, Roxanne Clarke is back, captain of the Billie Jean King Cup, and of course from Western Cape Tennis. And Roxanne, welcome back.
Thanks, JP. Always good to be back.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get you in the studio now for, I think, 3 months.
Wow, yeah, it's been quite a long ride,
Yeah.
but it's good to be back in the country. Let me tell you, even though it's so cold.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, when we last spoke, in fact, you told us that you were busy preparing, you were busy getting the Billie Jean King Cup, which is, of course, the women's version of the Davis Cup for tennis. I've got to remind everybody so that they all know that it's the women's version. Basically our South African women's team, right?
Yeah,
and you're the captain of that team.
Yeah, I'm the captain.
Yeah, and so before you were telling me that before you actually had to do all the preparation and all that. I mean, before you tell us about your trips, it's been quite a job. Before going overseas, you had to do a lot of traveling around the country.
Yeah, I mean, not just, I would say traveling around the continent. You know, we had the South African under-16 and under-14 national teams that played in a team competition. Yeah, it was zonals in Zimbabwe. And then shortly after that, we traveled to Egypt for the continental version of that competition. And then, of course, you qualify from there to the World Junior Team competition, so the Junior Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup. And we had one of our teams, the boys' team, qualified to play in the Czech Republic. So that was really cool for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Billie Jean King Cup thing happened.
Well, tell us about that.
So it was held in North Macedonia this year. And we were seeded third. So one team qualifies or gets promoted to the next level or the next group. So we're in Group 3, Euro Africa Group 3. And yeah, it was really close. You know, we had a group match against the hosts, North Macedonia. And it was so close. It came down to the doubles match. And unfortunately, our girls just came up a bit short. So
tell us, just if we go back, you first did the South Africa leg, then of course Egypt.
Yeah.
Then it was preparation for Macedonia.
Yeah, so it's different things. You know, those are the juniors, and then I had to. So I've been helping up with the junior teams, helping out a little bit. And
what does that mean when you say helping out?
As a national coach, I've been traveling with the junior teams, which has been really great to see our young talent. And sort of in my role as the Billie Jean King Cup captain, I also have to look for new talent coming through. And so it's good to get your hand on seeing the younger players out there.
So what do they have to do? Do you have people around you organizing hotel rooms and and T-shirts?
Tennis South Africa does all of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically just managing the team, and also in the same space, in the same way that we do the BJK Cup. I'm on the court with the players, giving them advice, giving them tactical advice, emotional support, whatever it is, you know.
How old are those players?
So the youngest player on that team would be about 13.
Okay.
For the under-14 version of it. And then the oldest players would be 16. So anywhere from 13 to 16.
So they're away from home for quite a bit. I mean,
well, some of those players, their goal is to become tennis players. So they do homeschool. They're very committed to actually doing this tennis thing full time. There are some players who are still in school. And so it's a little bit harder for them because they have to take a lot of time off school when they do these events. But I mean, you're representing your country, so the schools sort of understand and help along with that.
And parents, I mean, parents aren't seeing their kids for a while. You must be getting WhatsApp messages. How's my...
We tried to keep the communication lines pretty open when we're on tour, but the parents are very happy that their kids get to compete and obviously represent their country. So it's a good thing for them, and we try to give them feedback constantly on how their kids are doing.
But that means you're mom and dad at the same time.
Mom, dad, psychologist, coach, all of those things,
What are the kind of challenges, though? I mean, it's not easy going on tour like that, and you've got kids to think about, because you've got to worry about their eating, you've got to think about, are they going to sleep at night?
Yeah.
All those.
I mean, there are those kinds of behavioral things. There's obviously the professional aspect of being a good tennis player and following your routines, going to bed early, preparing your kit before you play. All of those kinds of things, those are sort of a different thing, different set of needs that you have. And then, of course, there's, like I said, the behavior thing, which is going to bed on time. You have to make sure the kids are doing the right things, you do get some challenges because, of course, there's other teams there, and they make friends, which is great. But with that, of course, there's some tricky situations. But for the most part, we manage it there.
When you say we, is that like a management squad? I mean, how many people are?
Well, there were 4 teams that we had, so you know, there's usually a coach for each team.
Yeah.
But on this particular tour that we did to Egypt and Zimbabwe, there were 3 coaches for the 4 teams. So we sort of managed those teams between us.
So Zimbabwe and Egypt, how was Zimbabwe from a location point of view?
Zimbabwe is there's so many tournaments. They host a lot of tournaments there, international tournaments. So we're used to that venue in Harare. We play there all the time.
Right.
You know, the players are used to it. For us in our region, I think because of COVID, our national teams haven't competed in these events so much. So now they're seeing South Africa back in the fold, and just like we did in Tunisia earlier this year with the under-18s. So it's good to see. I think it's like, oh, South Africa, wow. So, you know, so we swept. I don't think we lost a match at the zonals. That's called the zonals, which is just our region. And so all our teams qualified to go to the next leg of it in North Africa.
And then like you say, North Africa, there was, of course, Egypt. But Egypt seems to have become a hot spot for sport this year, or in the last year. Everybody's going there for events. We've seen, I mean, I could start with, you know, many codes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really, they've become a big draw card for.
I think there's a lot of investment in sport in Egypt,
Yeah.
Especially in tennis. Their federation, there's a lot of investment in there, and they are trying to bring international events in tennis there a lot on all levels, juniors to obviously the women's professional and men's professional events. And they have, in fact, a resort type tournament plan that they do there. So you go to a resort, you play the tournaments there. They're there most weeks of the year if you're a professional tennis player, you know, starting out on the tour. So there are a lot of events in Egypt. And I mean, Egypt is really close to Europe, so it's easy for those players to travel. So I can
sort
see
of luxury tennis?
No,
luxury
no,
tennis?
No, it's not. Let me tell you, it's not. It's a grind. It's always a grind because it was extremely hot.
Yeah.
You know, it gets really hot there. So that's an aspect of it that you really have to manage. I'm sure all athletes who go there experience that, not just in tennis. So it's not exactly easy, but with the resort style, if you're playing on that professional tour, it's perfect because everything that you need is there.
Yeah.
But it's expensive.
But you obviously have to think about those things from a health point of view, recovery point of view, and so on, and stay hydrated, etc.
You have to stay hydrated. You have to be eating bananas to get those electrolytes and magnesium, potassium back in your body.
And the kids have some fun because we had the gymnastics guys here in studio not so long ago. They'd also just been to Egypt and showed us a picture of some of the camels that they got to meet.
Oh, did they?
And I'm not sure, I can't quite recall if they saw the pyramids.
We made sure to go.
Yeah. In fact, they did see the pyramids. Yes, they went to the pyramids as well. But they got to see a little bit outside of just the gymnastics ring.
Yeah, it makes it worthwhile. You know, when you're an athlete, I can't speak to other codes, but when you're a tennis player specifically, you generally travel from the hotel or wherever you're staying to the tennis courts and back, and so you don't see much. So for me, I've been to Egypt. This was my 3rd time in Egypt, and this was the first time I went to the pyramids.
Wow.
And it's actually just a 30-minute, 45-minute drive from Cairo. So it's like you have to kind of get into the cultural bit a little bit.
And it gives you a bit of a break from the
yes,
focus
it does.
of tennis.
It does. And I mean, it also gives you that value of traveling. You know, you don't just travel to go stay in a hotel and travel to another tennis court.
And you're making friends and you're sort of talking.
Yeah. That's also one of the big things for the players. They make a lot of friends from all over the world, and that's a big thing. That's a huge thing in terms of their learning. You know.
Roxanne, your big event in the last couple of weeks was the Billie Jean King Cup. Now we're talking about seniors. Macedonia. I had to wonder, where exactly is Macedonia?
Good
and how far did you have to travel to get there?
Good question. Let me just think. It's sort of in the Balkans, you know, so it's part of that Serbia, Croatia. It's close to Greece. In fact, that's where the name Macedonia comes from. But it wasn't that hard to travel there. We traveled through Turkey, through Istanbul. So
there's a bit of traveling to do, though. Did you guys have to do? Did you fly straight out of South Africa?
Yeah, we flew out of Johannesburg. There's a flight to Istanbul, and from there it's an hour, less than an hour and a half flight to Skopje.
Skopje. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where you guys were. How many people on the team? This is now the Billie Jean King Cup.
Yeah, we had 5 players in the team.
5 players.
3 of them from the Western Cape.
3 from the Western
Yeah,
Cape. Yeah.
and 3 of them young players, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, junior players. So that was really a good experience for them, getting their first caps for South Africa. It was, you know, and then of course we had 2 experienced players. Chanel Simmons, who has been on the team quite a few times. I think she had a 70th cap for South Africa at that event.
Wow, yeah.
And also Ilse Hatting, who is based here in the Western Cape. And Ilse and I went to the same university, so we're both
So
Sun
you guys
Devils.
all knew each other?
Yeah, I mean tennis world is a small world, so.
Yeah, so Ilse Hatting. Tell us about the event itself. How long was it? How many days? How often? How much did they have to compete?
So, if I'm not mistaken, there were 15 teams, 14 or 15 teams, and
This is from all around the world.
yeah,
So different countries competing against each
Europe and Africa.
Okay.
Europe and Africa.
Europe and Africa.
This
yeah.
is Europe and Africa Group 3.
Right.
So, you start off in a round robin phase, you know, playing. We were seeded 3, so I think we had Uganda, and we had Botswana,
Yeah.
and I forget, and North Macedonia in
Right.
our group.
Right.
And so, in order to go to the playoff level, you had to come tops in your group.
Yeah.
So we faced off against the hosts, North Macedonia,
Right.
and they brought the troops out. I can tell you,
Oh, really?
even the ball boys,
Everybody there?
even the ball boys, even the ball boys were booing us.
Oh no.
You know, but we had a
Okay.
great performance
Yeah.
from Heike in the first match, number 2 singles.
Yeah.
I think that was the best match I've ever seen her play.
Wow.
She played really well on the clay, and she beat a girl from a woman from North Macedonia who hadn't lost another match at all.
Yeah.
And she cleaned her up 6-2, 6-love or something like this, 6-love, 6-2. So, you know, we were in a good position. And then, of course, they had a really good player as their number 1, who's top 200 in the world, and cleaned Chanel up pretty good. I mean, she really, really did that. Very strong player, aggressive player. And then it went to the doubles. And we were up in the doubles. We were up a set, 6-3 and 3-2. And, you know, the whole situation just became too much for our players, I think.
Yeah.
Kind
A
of
good experience, though.
it was a good experience. It was
Are
really
you
rough. It was one of
satisfied?
those
Yeah.
losses that really hurt, you know, because we had it on our racket, and we just sort of lost our focus and focused too much on the outside and the crowd, and then we ended up giving the crowd something to cheer about, you know. So kind of just shot ourselves in the foot there. It was disappointing, but I mean it's how sports goes. So
Yeah, but you draw positives from that, you know. Now
always.
various-
You know, I think one of the things that I draw from that is to sometimes give the younger players a chance, you know, because we went with experience in that match, and maybe a younger player wouldn't have felt that pressure so much, but who knows?
Well, I'm loving your sort of honesty about the performance, you know.
Yeah, and there's no
the way that you're explaining it. You're not sugarcoating it. You're saying it happened. Move forward.
Yeah, there's no point in doing that. You know, the players know. We spoke about it. We spoke about it after, and we kind of. I mean, there's no point in trying to sugarcoat it. It is what it is, and you just have to grow from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many days did they play? I mean, and did they play more than once a day?
It was a 5-day event.
5-day event.
You play one tie per day. Yeah, so it goes from the round robin. You go either to the playoff where you're going forward and playing out for, there's a semi-final and then a final, or you play for a position.
Yeah.
So we went to the 5-6 position, and we ended up not playing our last match because it just rained the last day of the event. So we ended up tied for 5th with Malta.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So you're back now. Before we talk Western Cape, what comes next for Billie Jean King Cup? When do you compete again?
So the next event will be next year, same time.
Okay.
Around the middle of the year, and so we just build to try and get our team together for next year.
So you have still some discussions and plannings
Always,
to do in that. I mean,
Absolutely.
you guys don't just switch off and go back home. And
No, we're always monitoring the players
yeah.
and maintaining those relationships with the players. So always trying to build a stronger team.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can have an even stronger team next year.
So Western Cape, as you say, Western Cape has been dominating, doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, some of your athletes there, you mentioned Heike, Janse van Vieren, and Lee van Sail. I mean, you must be happy with your provincial performance.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had 3 players in the Billie Jean King Cup who are from the Western Cape, young players, and those are Heike Janse van Vieren, Lee van Sail, and also Naledi Manyube, who's also from George, and Lee from Paul, and Heike's from George as well. And so, you know, those players have been trying to perform on the world stage while also trying to complete their matric years.
Yeah.
So it's been quite challenging for them. But we recently held a camp because there were some high-level tournaments here in South Africa, 2 in Durban and 1 in Pretoria, which junior tournaments, which is finishing up this weekend, the one in Pretoria. And Heike and Lee did really well in the doubles. They got to a final in a grade 2, which is exceptional. And Heike got a career high ranking this week of 79 in the world, which is the best we've had in a long time in the juniors. And I'm sure that ranking after her performance this week and making the quarterfinals of a grade A, we'll surely see that jump a little bit more when the rankings come out next week.
That's incredible. So you've got superstars coming out of the Western Cape, but this didn't just happen on its own. This comes from years of working together as a team, years of club work, years of development and support structures and administrators and coaches and that. How are we doing at the moment on those levels? I mean, you're back now.
Yeah.
You now shelve the high performance international stuff for a bit, and you're back at grassroots.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and a lot of credit has to be given to the coaches. I think a lot of coaches who coach in high performance, they don't necessarily make the big money, but they're investing into their athletes.
Yeah.
You know, so players and the parents, of course, you know, they're making a big investment into the futures of their kids. So in terms of that, here in the Western Cape, there's always development going on and always trying to improve those kinds of structures. I mean, it starts, like I always say, with the basic tournaments, you know, the first level tournaments, which are the one-day tournaments that we have here. And yeah, it's an ongoing thing. And of course, the challenge for that is always access, access to tennis, access to a tennis court. But there's a lot of development and effort that goes in from Cape Town tennis, if you talk specifically in the Cape Metro, and from the Western Cape. You know, there's a lot of development work that goes in.
What happens now for you on a daily basis? Are you coaching? Got what's on the cards?
You know, I've been trying to get some rest. It's been, you know, the traveling takes its toll on you, but fortunately I have some players who are also playing international events in Zimbabwe, so it gives me a little bit of a breather. But as soon as they're back, we're back on the tennis court. I have some local players that I work with as well, which I'm going to get to today. So yeah, you know, it's finding a balance, you know, JP. It's tricky. Yeah.
Roxanne, it's been great to have you back, and of course we know that you've got a fixed booking here. So Western Cape Tennis has to be as much as possible. As we tell people how to join a club, find a club near you, start playing tennis. There's always coaches that will welcome you. I mean, those options are still always on the cards for tennis, right?
Absolutely. I think the leagues will be starting soon.
Yeah.
I think they start in the last week of August.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a nice indication. You know, it's starting to warm up a bit, the weather.
Yeah.
So
yes, I was going to say
spring's around the corner. So yeah, it'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Roxanne, it's great to have you in the studio, and as always, we're looking forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks so much, JP. Always good to be here.
There we go, folks. Roxanne with us here in studio. Roxanne Clarke is, of course, captain of the Billie Jean King Cup team, and of course represents Western Cape Tennis. And there's some fantastic stuff happening in the world of Western Cape Tennis development, and we'll keep bringing you that information and encourage you to follow some of these role models, Western Cape Tennis role models, doing so well, not only locally, nationally, but internationally. So if you're interested in playing tennis and joining up with some of these superstars, then just go and find a tennis club near you. There's always a coach that will get you signed up. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll carry on talking sport in the province. Back in a sec. Don't go away.